Yo, 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 everybody, what's going on? Welcome to episode 59 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and joining me, as always, is Mr. John Clark. What's up, John?
Not much. Ready to roll.
Richard's not here today, guys. He kind of got in late from Dreamhack, and long story, but he couldn't make it, so it's a little unfortunate. But today we got two special guests today. Our family member, I still consider you a family member, Paul. So, Mr. ReDeYe, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, just catching up on some sleep.
Awesome. And then we have a first timer on Climbing the Ladder, Mr. RoOT.Nathanias. What's going, buddy? I know you've been a long time fan of the show, so it's pretty cool to actually have you on here.
Yeah, pretty awesome to be able to come here, share some of my experiences at Dreamhack and whatnot, and I guess, of course, it's an awesome show to be a part of. Absolutely,
yeah. It's actually a great opportunity to have you come on and talk about it because there's not a lot of times where we actually have a caster kind of have that kind of pivotal moment, and then you doing such a great job there, and really getting the your just kind of your commentary and everything about it afterwards. So I think this will be a really great thing, especially for a lot of those casters still grinding away, kind of like where you were just a few months ago, really, or maybe even a couple months ago. So it's going to be, I think, great for those people. But okay, why don't we kick things off with Dreamhack? You guys just got back from Dreamhack, right? And what did you think of the event overall? Just being there and the experience. Paul, you go first.
Dreamhack's it's quite strange for me, actually. I was chatting to Nathan, I think, on the first day, and a number of other people as well that were there for the first time, and it was actually my 10th Dreamhack, so I guess I'm not only old in the tooth, but a bit, had quite a few Dreamhacks. But yeah, I mean, it's a far cry from where it used to be. I remember back in 2004 doing some Quake, and I did it from the back of the main hall, stood up for 12 hours doing audio casting on Winamp.
Right.
There was no stage that we went on. There was no, lighting. There was no production. I don't think there was a camera. And you look at where they've come from when they didn't embrace esports to now where, the guys there live and breathe esports. It's phenomenal. And every time we go to Dreamhack, it's always really well done. And the cool thing for me is that they've done what very few other people have been able to do, is that they effectively are a BYOC LAN that then does esports. And I think sometimes we forget that that's their bread and butter is the BYOC. But, it's a cool place to hang out. Twitch Lounge was awesome. Hanging out with the players and people it's kind of like a circus, isn't it? We travel the world and we see each other every 2 or 3 weeks in different places, but it's pretty much the same faces every time with a sprinkling of new guys like Nathan. So, it's always Dreamhack's always good fun.
How about you, Nathan?
It was a very different experience, especially only being used to, well, I guess to say like the American events.
Yeah, how would you compare it to an LG?
I don't know. I tried to make that comparison like when other people would ask me what I thought of it, but the scale of the event was something that I don't think is properly portrayed, or at least wasn't in any broadcast that I had watched of any Dreamhack event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I assumed that, okay, there's like at least a large area like there would be at an MLG for them to have the stage for the different games that they do, but all of the halls that they had, just the special areas that they even had set up in the venue for places like the crew to be able to go and get coffee and stuff like that. Like there was just, it was on a scale I don't think I can really put into words. It was pretty awesome and very, very big.
I'd say they're fairly different events, period, from MLG. At least what I would think, because I compare it more to QuakeCon and the LAN part. People just don't even realize that really what Dreamhack is about is that LAN. It's so huge.
Yeah.
It's a whole different. It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different sort of event, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's Dreamhack. I mean, Quake. Is QuakeCon as big as? I mean, how would you compare the size of QuakeCon versus?
It's nowhere near. I mean,
like MLG, even MLG.
Be careful now, Paul.
No, I've I've been to both, so I'm the only person out of the 4 people here that can actually be qualified to tell you how big it is.
True.
Okay,
That's true.
That's
so
true.
chill your tits, John. Okay.
It's much better. Last year they had to turn away 1,200 people, and they filled it up plus some.
Sure.
And,
I mean, the BYOC at QuakeCon is big, but it's not 10,000 people big, and that's why Dreamhack has the world record for it. And they have hall after hall after hall of just BYOC stuff. So it's enormous, but it's a good comparison to make because it is pretty much the only one that could compare to Dreamhack in terms of this type of setup. It was a BYOC first. Now it's both, and there are lots of others. Multiplay, for instance, in the UK, it was a BYOC first. Now it's both, but it's still very much the BYOC is the focus of it. Dreamhack, same thing. It still very much is the focus of the BYOC, but that doesn't mean that they don't do the esports properly either. Because I mean, they had so many stages there this year.
There's no doubt about it that QuakeCon compares nothing in terms of production compared to Dreamhack. Not even close. It doesn't. There's no production really at QuakeCons.
No, because they bring it in. I mean, for years ITG and TSN did it, and we just did whatever we did because we were given access to the games. And I paid to go in 05. I paid to go in 06, because I wanted to go and cast it. It wasn't. We weren't even paid our airfare to get there.
Right.
I think Intel paid our hotels from memory. I think in 05 and 06. Which is why, and it's a very much it's a community thing, QuakeCon, whereas Dreamhack isn't a community thing. It's both a professional thing and a community thing.
Right. Do you see other events eventually maybe incorporating a BYOC aspect to it? Because we've always thought of it from vice versa, right? Just Dreamhack, QuakeCon, they've started that way, and it's kind of been a product. Just the success has been kind of this kind of cool dynamic between having a professional event with this other festival-like event. Do you see professional events kind of maybe adding the festival side of it in the future? Like, could you see MLG maybe doing it?
I think it would be weird. I've seen them add it before. I mean, WSVG, when they ran, they would run a BYOC alongside, a small one, a couple of hundred people, just to help pay for the hire of the hall or the LAN or the electric or something.
Yeah.
I think Code 5 might have done that at some point. WCG have had it before in the past. I mean, pretty much everyone's tried to do that. I think it's a lot tougher. I think the kind of expertise you need to run a giant LAN like Dreamhack or an iSeries or even a QuakeCon is a totally different set of skills to what you need to run an esports event. So it's very difficult to do both. And Dreamhack are one of the few that I know around the world that definitely do both really well.
Yeah, they do an awesome job. It'd be cool to see a little bit more footage of the festival. We get a shot at like the BYOC floor a few times, during the between the breaks. But you hear about the music, you hear about all these really cool parts of the festival that we don't really get to see on the actual professional streams themselves. So it'd be actually cool. There's probably are there other streams that kind of shoot that part of the festival? Because I never see it.
I think there must be. I think there must be because they have cameras up there and it's always broadcast around. I mean, when you're walking around Dreamhack, you'll see these giant screens and they're always, stuffing their faces to hamburgers on stage or I don't know what was happening the night before last. There was a girl who was deep throating a banana whilst having milk poured over her.
Nice.
I mean,
Nice.
that sort of stuff goes on the main stage all the time. So I don't see why it probably wouldn't have been broadcast somewhere. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, John dropped there. Great. Let me fix these real quick while we're talking. But Nathan, while I'm doing it, why don't you talk a little bit about your first? This is your first experience, obviously, at Dreamhack and at an event of this magnitude, and again, like one of the really cool things about having you get to come on the show and really talk about just everything, just first time doing this and really just how great it was, or maybe there's some challenges that a lot of people don't know about, that a lot of folks that have been to these events just don't think anything of it anymore, right? So like you'd have a different vantage point of it all. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what are some of the things that surprised you, and what are some of the things that, that I guess were pretty, meaningful, or probably the biggest moments for you so far in casting?
Well, as far as everything went with the event, like outside from the actual casting, the crew at Dreamhack was I was blown away by how well everything was put together. The setup's not something that I really expected to see. They had, but before the event, I went to the venue a little bit early. I arrived at the hotel. I was in town probably about 5 hours before Apollo arrived and NATBC. So the rest of the guys that I was actually gonna be working with weren't there quite yet. And I just got to look around. Robert Olin showed me most of the venue area, all the stuff with the BYOC, and I talked to Hellspawn a bit about how everything was organized. And it was the way everything was set up was so streamlined. We had a guy, Milton, whose basic job was just make sure everything was okay for all of us. He's like, okay, if you need something, and this was the other cool thing, because going from the online environment to the live environment, even if we weren't doing anything, if you guys didn't see us on camera, our microphones were hooked into production. So like we could say something like, okay, we need hot water for Apollo and Jeff, who had a lot of issues with their voices going on. Of course, Jeff had a flu when he came in, and Apollo had just come off. I think he was casting basically like 3 weekends in a row. So they took really good care of us. At one point, I was getting a little tired, and I was like, okay, well, I saw the sugar. I asked for like a Coke, and then they like bring over like half a case of it just to make sure I don't run out.
Oh my God.
Like
Wow.
they just like they really took care of us. There was tons of water available. As far as things that were difficult, I felt throughout the actual experience that maybe people wouldn't have seen as much. The setup for the microphone and the audio receiver was like really difficult to get it to like stay from like the earpiece falling out.
Oh wow.
Because like I only had one earpiece in, but the weight of the other one made the first one want to fall out. So
Did you have to duct tape it to your like the back of your hair?
I like ninja tied it into like where.
Welcome to professional commentary, Nathan.
Yeah,
Spend 300 euros and you can have one of those.
Exactly.
And that stays in your ear because it's molded to your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul has like this implant. he's got
He actually is a mold of my ear.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
That's crazy. Yeah, that was cool. That, as far as the actual casting difficulty went, I was obviously really nervous the first day. I think it showed.
Yeah,
but I think I actually asked you about this, Paul, while I was at the event. It was a little different getting used to the camera setup, or at least between looking at a commentator who's there in person and looking at the camera and then just looking around, like trying to have that natural flow. Exactly. While you're there, that took me a little bit of time, and I don't even think I had that perfect by the time we were done.
No, you were good.
Oh no! By the end, dude, I saw you in the beginning, and saw you at the end, and it was a huge difference, dude. It was good. It was good by the end.
Are you saying that he sucked on the first day?
Yeah, dude, I know Nathan, all right. I know what Nathan's like when he's comfortable, and I knew he was not comfortable.
He was
first
not
day.
comfortable on the first day.
I could tell, but by the end of the day, by the end of the weekend,
I saw him at the
really
second day. At the end of the second day, and I think we stopped in the hallway leading back from the back of the stage, and I said, "Better day," and he was like, "Oh yeah, much better." He was much happier. I could instantly tell he was much happier second day.
Yeah, it was just a comfort, you know. Yeah, I mean, it just even takes time casting with Sean and casting with Jeff. You know, it just takes a little bit of time. But you know, you mentioned Jeff and I didn't know Sean had that much of a problem with his voice, but Jeff obviously had the flu. He's definitely sick, and because of that, I think the schedules were kind of adjusted based on it. I mean, I don't think there was plans for Jeff to kind of cut the first day short, right? Because I don't think they anticipated him being sick. So talk to us about that. Was that hard for you in particular? And did that end up being in the end end up being actually a really good thing for you?
Well, as far as scheduling went for anything like that, I think the first day, actually that was about the way that we had set it up, where I was going to do, Apollo and I did 3 games together, then In Control was going to do 3 games with each of us. So, I mean, of course he had the voice issue, but you know, he toughed it out like a champ. And when we went into day 2 and day 3, Apollo had actually mentioned that he was at least like a little bit worried about his throat. On the 3rd day, we had Jeff come in for a couple of games at the very beginning. We actually, as far as our schedule was, it was just supposed to be me and Apollo doing the 3rd day, but Apollo wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be much of a problem. As far as like the voice thing for me didn't really end up being as big of a deal. I guess a lot of people mentioned and commented towards the end of the broadcast that obviously my voice is a little strained at that point, but I don't
didn't notice
think
that, but okay.
I don't think it was that bad. In fact, like it was like kind of sore the next day, but even right now it's fine. I casted Russian Star League for like 2-3 hours yesterday morning, like
Yeah,
right
that's
after
crazy.
I'd gotten back. So I don't know. It didn't affect me quite as much, and I think it definitely helped that I didn't need to ask for anything like a break or anything like that.
Just getting as much airtime as you got, the extra airtime, it's got to be a positive, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was very, very nice. I think the one thing that made me the happiest was it felt like it was a very professional thing that I was brought on as a caster, and there wasn't any sort of like split that was unfavorable for me. It wasn't like, okay, you're gonna come in and you'll cast maybe 6 games, but Apollo and Jeff will get a lot more than you. I got the same.
Right.
Like I was scheduled for the same number of games as Sean, and as far as that went, like it was really, really nice. There wasn't any adjustments made like that. I felt it was a very fair way that they set it up, and obviously I would have wanted to be on as much time as possible, just because it was great exposure.
Right. No, you did a wonderful job, and I was obviously tweeting like crazy during. That's what I do, man. During Dreamhacks and WCS events and stuff, I just kind of go nuts on the weekends. But the last few matches that you casted, where I felt like were really great, and I love it when you're standing up and you're like shouting, man. Like because the games are just so crazy. Like that elimination game, that was awesome, man. I don't think we have enough of that in StarCraft, honestly.
It was pretty awesome. I think though the first thing I said after it was all over, after Stardust got that final game, and they immediately kicked it over. It's of course the awesome ceremony. But I stood straight up. Paul gave me a hug, gave me a pat on the back, and my first words was like, "Man, I got so lucky with some of the matches that day." Because as much as you can try to hype games, and I feel that the final casts did go very well. But
There's like that one, dude.
Like it's like I was talking to Jeff about that at the hotel. I'm like, trying to live up to that is going to be incredibly hard, because how often are you going to have a crazy series where 2 of the games are decided by killing off all the buildings, especially the final game in the finals, and especially that match between Life and Show. Like, I was even saying, I'm like, this isn't supposed to happen. I think it was a lot of people quoted what I said in that game, because that's just how insane it was. But I think it also came down to that. But the live crowd as well really feeded into those later casts. Like it was, I don't know. I could really feel by the time that we were done with it that it was a Dreamhack final, and I think that carried it. At least carried my casting a lot more strongly than is he going to get out of this group or anything that I would have done online.
Right. No, that's really cool, because I don't think it's been until semi-recently that the casting has, I think by default the casters have been like right there with the audience. For a long time I think they were always kind of put either in another room or behind the backstage and that sort of thing. And it's been great ever since they brought you guys out into the audience. It's been, I think, wonderful, and that's cool. That's kind of cool that you actually play off of it too. Because Paul, like some people actually think it's bad for production whenever they can hear, like you have this little bit echo-ness and the crowd, you can kind of pick up the crowd sometimes with the mic, but I actually think the complete opposite. Like, what do you actually think?
No, I would agree. For me, it's actually quite frustrating if we're not close to the crowd. I mean, Dreamhack, one of the things they do is they put you on the side of the stage, which means you're facing the crowd and you hear the crowd and you interact with the crowd, and that's the best goddamn feeling you can have on a stage show. If you, there are other tournaments, and ESL have done it in the past, and I'm not a great fan of it, where we put the commentators behind the stage, and in some cases they're so far away from the stage and so far away from the crowd, not only can you not hear the crowd through your headset, but actually, you may as well have just stayed back at a studio somewhere and done the broadcast from there, because you're so detached that you don't feel it. And if you don't feel it as a commentator, it's the crowd that drive you and you that drive the crowd. And if you don't have that going backwards and forwards, it doesn't work as well. It still works. And, you know, most commentators these days at the high level are truly professional and very, very good at what they do. And there isn't really a problem with it as per se, but for me, it works better if you're in front of the crowd and you can see the whites of their eyes and they can see yours, and you just, you know, you get ebb and flow backwards and forwards, and it works so well. So I don't think it matters if it comes through the mic.
I don't either.
No, most. I'm not sure about Dreamhack, but definitely ESL. When we do IEM, we do mic drops into the crowd, and then we can control the amount of volume that you get on stream of the crowd. So, you know, I think that's fine too. I mean, we want people at home to experience what we experience.
Right, exactly. Hey, John, welcome back.
Yeah, whatever.
God.
I'm so fucking pissed.
I've been away from this show for what, about 5 months. Nothing's changed.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
Look at what's going on the screen right now. I'm completely chopped off in the corner because there's some window going on.
Dude, I'm working on it.
That he's trying to fix right now. And John keeps disconnecting. Nothing's changed, guys. I expect professionalism from you.
Dude, I don't have enough freaking scenes in XSplit to cover the combinations of people dropping off, okay? That's not possible for me. But okay,
I'm gonna start a Kickstarter program and try to raise $500 so I can get a new fucking PC. Sorry.
Oh man, we got tilted, John, on CTL today.
Jeez.
Hang on. Hold on. Oh no, I thought it was on ITG for a moment. It's okay, go ahead.
Oh no.
Sorry, I'll take
that's weak, man. That's weak. No, but we're just talking to these two guys about Dreamhack, John. If you
it was awesome shit. It actually worked. Unlike my computer.
What?
It actually worked. Dreamhack went well, unlike my computer.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, when was the last time Dreamhack didn't go well? I mean, let's be honest. You know.
True. Very true.
And I mean, I have to say, like, I kind of tweeted something that was, you know, just there's a funny tweet to Robert just saying that. I mean, how lucky is that bastard? I mean, every one of the Dreamhack, you know, semis or just at least the top 8, there's some kind of crazy awesome storyline that ends up you know, coming into fruition, right? And like last
you
one.
Called it, Chris. Remember when we had him on? You called it. You said, okay, so what's it going to be this year? Because we know what's it going to be this time. Because we know for sure there's going to be something crazy that happens in the semis or finals, and it did.
Oh, lower your mic, John. Your mic's up later here.
Do you want me to go one further? I jokingly said to Robert in the round of 16, "What have you done this year to make sure that the players playing Swedish players lose?" And he jokingly said, "We've drugged their booths." And then when show won, I was thinking, bloody hell. And then I think he said, "Why do you think it costs us so much to run these tournaments?"
No, jeez.
Oh man.
And he was joking.
Yes, of course he was.
Let's not have a Reddit thread.
Dude, I was saying, like, you know, what kind of things was he sacrificing to the esports guys? Okay, so.
I mean, it just happens every time, right? I mean,
it's
always
the
Swedish guy that
amazing.
gets through further than they should get through. I mean.
But not only that, it's just like, I forgot who said something on Twitter, but it was seriously storylines that were just kind of one-upping each other, and it was just progressively crescendoing to the end. And obviously, you know, it's like just when we thought show was the big, you know, just the big story that's going to finish this thing off. You know, show ends up losing the next round, and then Stardust, you know, a Korean player of all things, kind of carries it home, you know, by winning the finals and being an underdog.
It's funny because I was like, Stardust. I remember watching Stardust in the ESET Masters in winter last year. I haven't heard of him since or before.
Right.
How is this dude suddenly killing everyone? So yeah, that's some great stories. I mean, that's pretty much what you need, right? I mean, we were lucky with WCS. We had some great stories, and every tournament needs them. Otherwise, they're not memorable. So
Exactly. So Nathan, you know, obviously you guys are just crazy busy trying to cast these things. Were you able to kind of take any of that in, just the results and kind of what was going on, and like any prep work for that too? Like as these storylines are kind of coming in play, do you guys focus on, change your casting in that way?
Well, we tried to stay on top of the players that maybe weren't as expected, like you said, to go through this far. A show was probably the
Man.
least expected thing.
Dude. God.
I don't know. I feel kind of like it almost feels like weird to say this, but we're like, okay, well, we should at least prepare for a very long break for the next series in case because we were like, life might just crush him, and I feel one of the other things that definitely helps with that, the crowd was awesome for us. As a player there, Swedish, maybe that's one of the things that helps you. I feel like I would play a lot better, if you have your own country pushing behind you, but
you can't hear it. The players can't hear that inside the.
Yeah, but they're there. You're going up to the booth. Everyone's, everyone's cheering for you. You made it that far. We were actually pretty surprised that show. He had what seemed to be a somewhat easier path to there, but the fact that he beat Life, I think. Just crazy.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic series. As far as Stardust goes, I had known him a little bit better, I think. I had actually had a chance to speak with him quite a bit when I was trying to work with Light Esports. One of the first, I think, foreign StarCraft 2 teams he was starting to work with. So I had been able to cast some of his games. I'd been able to actually play against him a couple of times. I played him in a tournament, so I wasn't surprised that he was doing well. I was surprised that he was turning up. I don't think he'd really been around in tournaments that much lately, at least big tournaments like that. So it was a very good opportunity for him. And being friends with a lot of people from MY Insanity, it was cool to see. I guess I kind of said I when we were talking about who would win it towards the end, I felt that Stardust was going to take it just because I feel like his style was favorable, but also I would say Jaedong's ZVP maybe not as good as his ZVZ that we saw.
It definitely
some of his other players.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't, that's the case for every player. So it's, and nowadays I just kind of take that in stride because that's just how tournaments play out. There's luck that plays out in tournaments, right? So Show. For those of you who know Show, he took a year off of playing StarCraft 2 not that long ago, and he just came back probably the last, I don't know, maybe 4 months, maybe this year. I think maybe he started back up this year or right before Heart of the Swarm came out, and he's been playing well. I mean, I've definitely seen him play some, but I think him being Life is got to be one of the biggest upsets we've seen in StarCraft 2. I can't think of too many others, because again, Show was pretty much, even though a lot of us in North America and Europe know Show, he's not a notable player at all, right? And he had some success, maybe just in Wings of Liberty, but even that success wasn't that too much. And he was on Dignitas, right? I think Show was on Dignitas, I think, to begin with. I think he was in Dignitas, in Wings of Liberty, but yeah. Anyways, that was so great. That was so great seeing his team, or it was his team, right? His team and his coaches kind of mob him right after the win. Yeah. I mean, we need more of that. I mean, I don't know why that doesn't happen a lot more, and even just those guys mobbing Stardust after he won and kind of just throwing him at the air and that kind of thing. We need to see that a lot more at all these tournaments. None of this crappy last 10-15 minutes of a broadcast because the celebrations are always shit. So I was really happy to see that, just some of the emotion from the teams and that sort of thing. That was really cool. Definitely great. So I mean not too much. I guess there's not that much more to say about DreamHack other than I just get your last words kind of on it, Nathan. Just again, how do you think it's going to help your casting career, and what are some of the biggest things you've taken from it?
Well, I mean, I would say at this point now, I mean, as far as the production and everything went, since I would have said last year, or at least IPL 5 blew away everything that I'd seen. Being used to MLG events, but DreamHack, first European event that I've ever been to, first time I ever left the States. It, yeah, completely. I don't know. I would take an event with that level of that feeling, the way that that crowd was, everything, like, over pretty much anything that I've ever seen before, at least in the American scene. Um, as far as career things go, I don't know. Still hammering away. Still trying to find other ways, I guess, to make myself valuable enough to a company. I'm speaking to a couple of people right now. Nothing really big or concrete yet. But as far as improving casting goes, I don't think, and this is one of the other things that I had mentioned to Apollo kind of jokingly afterwards. I was like, well, now I go back to my online broadcasts, still trying to get more work, and everyone's going to be expecting that same level of hype and energy, and it's going to be so much harder to deliver. So I feel like I've raised the bar for myself as a caster a lot, which I am going to do my best to meet. But
nothing wrong with that, man. I mean,
No, nothing wrong with that at all.
it's you can't emulate outside of an event like that. As far as improving goes, you can't emulate that environment where there's that huge crowd cheering, where you have players on stage, with a lot at stake. And I think as far as for my next live event, I'm probably, I don't know. The production stuff is probably going to be different. I don't know that it will be anything like a Dreamhack, of course. I don't see something like that happening again anytime soon. So I guess it's just going to be, I have to be prepared, I guess, for more things. I'm going to keep in mind more things when I go into an event, like taking into account, okay, well, this is how the chair is set up. Is this cable going to fall out of my ear?
Yeah.
Things like that. But aside from that, I think it was all good all around. I don't think there really wasn't too much negative feedback, at least for the final day. So.
There was plenty. There was a ton of positive feedback. Yeah. So overall, I think just the feedback I saw on Reddit on the last day was very good for you. So. I think I feel like it was really good for you. And one thing that I guess I'm taking from just what you're saying there, and probably for a lot of you folks that are watching too, that are in casting, is that just because you get this awesome opportunity, and actually you did a good job even at DreamHack, there's still, it's not guaranteed what comes afterwards, right? You got to keep plugging away and you got to keep hammering it out, because it's a matter of stringing multiple opportunities like DreamHack together, and then that's when you kind of start becoming more of a mainstay, or solid caster.
And speaking of like Twitter and Reddit, I'm just curious, did you pay attention to any of that? Were you curious what people were saying after day one?
That's a good question. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, I think people might not realize how often we check stuff like that. I don't know. Between the games, I was always looking for feedback, but it's kind of something that I'm used to. I remember the first thing that In Control said when we sat down. He's like, okay, it's like, you're probably just don't look up any feedback between games. And I was kind of already used to it. Doing WSS Europe Challenger League, where I started to get a lot more feedback since I was finally getting a bigger crowd, as well as doing dual casting, which is of course something that most people know I don't normally cast with a co-caster. So I did look up the feedback. It was surprisingly constructive. I took a few things into account that people were saying on Reddit or Team Liquid as the following days went by. Aside from just loosening up a little bit, I tried to be a little bit more varied. I took advice as far as what looks more natural for looking at camera and stuff. So the things that I felt were really weak points is where I looked for constructive criticism, and most people had a couple of solid things to say. And then there's still other things that people don't know as much about when they're making comments about them. Mm-hmm. So, were you
able to just let those slide off your shoulder? Did you you knew which ones were just people trolling or people being stupid, really?
Mm. To be honest, I don't know what it is. There wasn't really even that many trolly comments, aside from there was just all the funny things, because be like, oh, Nathan giving, I love that deep, long stare he makes into the camera because of like, like take aside, like there's like fun things like that. And I'm like, okay, so, because the first day I was like constantly looking back and forth between myself and Apollo. And, some people were like, okay, man, he's twitching. He can't tell which way he wants to look. So the day 2, I tried to look more so at the camera and make fewer glances at the co-caster. And then people were like, oh, he's giving that deep, sensual stare. And for day 3, I was just like, okay, well, because that's when I talked to Paul about it. And I was like, just got to be as natural as whatever. So then I just kind of was like, I just kind of went with it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you guys see see yourself when you're sitting there?
Yeah, we have the way that it was set up. We were basically sitting there was our desk. There was the camera like right here, is like right between both of us, and then we had the preview monitor like in this area. That's good. This was basically like a giant ass TV that had the stream as it were, like as it was going out live. So this is what I cast it off of. I think some people will note there was like a video put out on Reddit, one of the Dreamhack admins released, where you could see like Apollo and I kind of talk. It was like a sort of like a candid video of us casting, and it's like kind of looking for it. Apollo will usually look at his computer. We both had setups. We're both like inside the games on both of our PCs. But
I see.
I'm supposed to, of course, as I'm doing play-by-play, supposed to follow at a BC in the way that, because I discussed it with Apollo before we went in there, and pretty much if I had a question, if there was anything that I felt I would want to look at my own PC to check, I should ask about it, basically. So, because, for at least to help move along the analytical part of it. But it was nice. I was able to see everything clearly.
Cool.
And it was an interesting and effective, good setup.
All right.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I mean, TV shows I've had up to 8 monitors to look at, but generally speaking, you get a game monitor and a program monitor. Program feed is pretty much what goes out on the stream, so that you know whether you're on screen or not. I mean, it's the only time you have to kind of be careful. If you see casters at events where they're not on screen and they know they're not on screen, they're doing all sorts of stuff. They're doing this. They've got the thing up. They're down there somewhere. They're picking up a bottle of water. They're reading the newspaper. They're checking out Twitter. And then they come back and they're like, round 13 then, let's get underway with it. And you're like, how do they do that? That's insane. They're like, everything else is going on. And then suddenly, boom, they're in the game. It's not quite the same for StarCraft guys because they're kind of in it all the time. But the casting setup at Dreamhack is a fairly common setup now in esports, which is good. And it's not always that way because the host is the worst thing, because as a host you rarely get a program feed, so you have no idea. You're waiting on the guy in your ear to go, you're live, which means sometimes, like earlier on this year at the Heart of the Swarm launch, I said we'll be right back after this break. We're not going.
Yeah, why is that red light
okay.
still on? Damn.
And it's like, what the hell? Hello. So as a host, you're much more reliant on producers, which is often why I get cross with producers. But that's another story.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, the Dreamhack was amazing. You did an amazing job, Paul. I'd say you did an amazing job too, but I didn't actually get a chance to.
No, I did an awful job.
Watch you.
Come on.
Yeah, Paul's an assumed. I can always just assume he's going to do great, but no, I didn't get a chance to go over to those streams.
Have you, Nathanias, have you been approached by anyone since then? I mean, I know it's only been a day or two, but about doing anything additionally?
Well, I tried to get in touch a bit more with some other people, but I've had maybe one organization ask me to do something with them. Not anything that I'd say is earth-shattering. So as far as that goes, nothing really serious yet.
Good. Well, no, good to his approach. That what I wanted to say is, don't be afraid to take those. Like Chris was saying earlier. Even though this was like a huge opportunity and it was in the spotlight, take what you can get from there and keep building on it, because we don't need any more pretentious casters.
Well, the thing is, as far as like jobs and stuff go, right? There's going to be a little bit of hype because I'm obviously the last thing I do is be fool myself and say, okay, well, this is it. Now I just wait for some job to open somewhere, because it's not how it works. With the length of the community's memory, like it's a bit more it's a bit more of a rush thing as far as I'm looking around, but I would like to be able to at least make the connections during this a period of time where I'm coming off of this event, because I honestly have no idea when the next event I'm going to do is. I'm not going to be at Valencia or anything. It's not like I'm just going to get picked up for everything all of a sudden now, even from Dreamhack. So as far as any of that goes, I'm still hammering away. Still trying to get work. I think I've said before I'd prefer to be able to work in Europe, but I guess they announced we actually had even on like the mic slip up at the event that Apollo's going to ESL. So like there's
an open room. There's an open room at the good house.
Yeah, but then like there's other things, like obviously that's something that I could look into. I haven't really had a chance to contact them. I've tried since the event, but mostly I have been looking towards something in that area. But as far as the caster goes, you want to be able to work with WCS. So right now I would love to get in touch with NASL, and I'm trying to at the moment. Obviously I'm still constantly talking to Carmack about random stuff, but it's all about there's
So I heard.
there's a lot there's a lot to be, I don't know, there's just a lot. It's not easy. It doesn't stop at any point. So I'm just trying to make the most of this little bit of hype where it's like,
well, you should. You have to strike when you're hot.
While the community is on your side for whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good segue to we'll segue to this topic, then we'll take a break. Let's talk about ESL picking up Apollo. Paul, obviously, you working for ESL TV, and you're obviously probably have a lot of things.
You had a lot to do with it, didn't you, Paul?
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Well, he joins my team. It's he'll be managed by me in a team of what have we got now? 7 casters in there. Yeah, 7 casters in there now. So, yeah. Of course, I had something to do with it, but there was a lot of people who had something to do with it. Carmack really wanted him on board. Toby, my boss, the MD at ESL TV, wanted him on board. Ralph wanted him on board. But the funniest thing about this is that we had a random conversation back in January, February time, and I jokingly said, he said, how you doing? Off to ESL TV, and I said, yeah, you'll be next. And here we are. I mean, you've got to want the best of the best out there if you want to build a great commentary team, and we've gone from having a couple of people in there 6 months ago, albeit Joe being one of those people, to a team where we're now 7. And there's myself, there's Apollo, there's Joe Miller, there's Ephia, there's Jason, there's Kalaris, and we've also brought in Lauren recently as well. So we have a kick-ass commentary team. I don't know if there's a commentary team full-time on the books at any company in the world right now that has a better quality, a better range, and a team that can pretty much commentate on any game that we're thrown at us.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. You're bringing on a crazy.
I'd say from top to bottom, it's easily one of the best. It probably is one of the best casting crews.
Yeah,
from top to bottom.
Yeah, staff-wise, it is pretty crazy. So how long did just I guess from beginning to end did this process take of pulling on Sean?
A long time. I think we first started talking to him when we landed the deal, so late March, early April. Initially, we were talking about, do you want to come and do WCS? Bit of a no-brainer, really. WCS is the thing that, every StarCraft commentator, you've heard Nathanias has already said it. Every StarCraft 2 commentator worth their salt wants to be working on WCS of some kind somewhere in the world. So did he want to come and do it? Yeah, he absolutely wanted to come and do it. Did he want to come and join full-time? Probably not initially. I mean, he's a really loyal guy. He's been with a good studio for, 18 months, 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I think loyalty is a really great thing as well. But ultimately, you have to make a decision that is selfish. There's no doubt about it. And we wanted him full time. We wanted him to come and join us. The whole thing, not just come over for a few weeks, do WCS, go home, do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted him on board full time to work on WCS, on StarCraft as a product for us, as well as IEM. So, you know, it's perfect for us. But yeah, a long time ago, to answer your initial question, I think probably 8 to 12 weeks now.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. It's not too long. I thought that maybe it was longer, actually. But no, that's good. I mean, you guys are something great. I mean, you know, even picking up Kennegat not too long ago too. I mean, you guys have made some really great.
Yeah, I mean, I only mentioned the commentary,
Mm-hmm.
the commentary team, but we picked up a ton of guys recently. There's another guy just started for StarCraft admin, who I know from the UK, and he's really good as well.
Who is it? Oh. Uh-oh.
Did we lose him?
Did we lose Paul?
See?
All right, let's get another
He's
combination.
just as much a part of the problem.
Just when Chanman was getting comfortable.
Is that break time?
Yeah. Why don't we take a quick break? Let's just do that. That'd be a good cutoff point. So we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere, please.